Good morning. Good morning, United Kingdom. Good morning to everyone to the live drive time session, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. UK, and that's from Monday to Friday every week with the alternative business and properties community with Lakhi Singh, the business and property fixer. Good morning. Guten Morgen. Wie heißt Herr Singh?
Good morning. How are we doing?
Good morning, sir. What's the weather like there, sir? Southeast. Right, we lost reception.
It's quite nice actually. It's about 4 or 5 degrees outside.
4 or 5 is
quite nice.
4 or 5 more than 0, which is good. And today's topic then, what is the world going to be like after the new president excuse me, the new president has been inaugurated? So we have Joe Biden in there, and we have Kamala Harris, who is the vice president, the first ethnic vice president, female as well. So yes, what is the world or the economy or the general state of play going to look like after Joe Biden has now been inaugurated? And the second saying of the week, which is in adversity lies opportunity. So in this difficult time comes out opportunity. So first question, how will the world start behaving now we've got a new president in America? What do you say, Lakhi Singh, to that?
Well, already they've got a lot of businesses that had trade that was closed up with China because of the very sort of insular approach from Trump, with being very tight with China. So a lot of businesses that were trading are now beginning to start trading back up again with China. So that's actually plus for a lot of international businesses. I think the international trade side will definitely improve for a lot of businesses that are working with America or
yeah.
And I think Trump had a very sort of big focus on business, and so I think things are going to go back to a little bit to where they were, because I think Biden's going to try and unfold everything that Trump's been doing. Yes, I think there's a lot of change. I'm not quite sure about. I think domestic policy. I think they're going to move more towards wearing masks and be a lot more compliant to dealing with the pandemic in a lot more systematic way. Whereas I think Trump was a lot more dismissive of the pandemic altogether. And he wasn't really buying into the global policy on a business shutdown. So, so a lot of changes afoot, whether they're positive or negative, it remains to be seen, I think. I think your volume's off.
There's a reason that my volume's off. It's on again. Right. Okay. Can you hear me now, Lakhi?
That's much better. Yeah.
Excellent. Right. Okay. So, what about for the uncertainty of the commercial world? We've got lockdown. And remember, this lockdown has got nothing to do with whether Joe Biden was president or Donald Trump, because this lockdown has come from the powers to be, I'd say, for people who are well over Donald Trump and well over Joe Biden. So what do you think they're going to do now? Do you think they're going to stay with the lockdown and the fact that they've shut down the economies? Or do you think there's going to be a method to this madness? Is there going to be a change using Joe Biden's name in the way we're starting to do business again?
To be honest, international politics as much. I think what's going to happen with Biden, I think, is that you are probably going to see a more of a better international policy. He's got better advisors. He's going to be having a lot more, probably a bit more marketing and PR, so it's going to be less brash. So the press will probably be on side again, because I think Donald Trump ostracized a lot of the press as well when he was in his presidency. Also, I think there may be something that comes up back from Trump as well, some sort of something left of field. We don't know quite what. So he may be still thinking that he's as big as he was when he was president. So he may be still riling the masses in some format to possibly Biden look bad. I don't know. I think anything could happen really, but I think Biden's now in the driving seat. So I think I'm not sure whether it will be necessarily positive, but we shall see, because America is really into big hype and big marketing. You never really know which way things are going to go in America.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, makes sense. I mean, Carolyn Williams says she's giving us a shout out, and she probably says I think you place yourself too far back from the mic. That's probably what she's trying to say. I hope that's what she's saying. You need to adjust yourself. Like you're looking very debonair, I say, debonair in your style. You're sitting back. You need to come closer to the screen like I do, sitting on top of the screen.
I think you're probably a bit too close to the screen. Move back a bit.
I have to get on top of the screen so I don't miss an opportunity. Don't let anybody bypass me by being on the screen. Right, okay. So, an interesting question then, Lucky, for you. If Joe Biden gets on top of the vaccine, do you think the economy is going to kickstart again by, say, April?
I think in real terms, I don't see things getting any better, because the overspill of a year's lockdown is going to be tough for any economy. So whatever is done will be done really as a almost like a luster plaster over all the cracks that are there in the economy, and the access of money being thrown into the markets by the governments. So I don't really see things getting a lot better. I think I can only see them getting a lot worse, because the general situation now is that you're going to have the overspill from the furloughs, overspill from the hospitality and retail industry being pretty much closed down, and the overspill of mental health and people, lots of people being without jobs. I think because of what's happened. A year is a long time in an economy, in a let's just say one of the leading commercial centers in the world, America and England. So
Yes.
That's it. That's my answer.
Okay, so you say it's a long time, but at the end of the day, people can't just now forgive and sort of like forget and give up. There's got to be some hope there. There's got to be some positivity in all of this. What do you say is the ray of hope in this? Then let's suppose they've been out of business for a year. Is there any hope in this? What do you see as the hope? What do you think is the light at the end of the tunnel? What is giving you optimism in all of this pessimism?
Well, I think the main thing is that we've got the vaccines going on, and if people have got their health, then I think they should be thankful that they can get their health back, and then when lockdown's over, they can return to some form of normality. So I think that's the thing that people should be focusing on. Everything else that happens around them that they can't control, around the economy, around businesses opening up, they can't control, but they can control their health. They can control their actions. So it's a good time for prayer and also reinvention. I think a lot of people have to think about reinventing themselves, and they can't rely upon the system, the big brother, government, banks to tie them over in their day-to-day life. I think people are going to be rethinking their financial system and thinking, what is it that they need to do that's different, that's going to allow them to work in a new world order.
New world order. Interesting you say that. Is that what it is, Lakhi? The new world order?
Well,
Novus Ordem Secularum? Is that what it is?
There are 150 families that control the world, and they're the main decision makers behind the scenes. So a lot of the governments have to comply to what they want to do. And I think the dominance of those 150 families is only increasing because they've always been in the driving seat. They control the money, they control the decisions. So we don't really see those families, see those people out there presenting their message directly. Their messages are done behind closed doors. They're not.
Okay, so Novus Order Secularum, the new world order. Is that what you're talking about, Lakhi Singh? Is that what we're going towards? Is this the new world order then? Is this what it was? The virus?
There's a massive shift, and the sort of the whole psychology of the whole of the world, people, how they think, how they work, how they act, is now going to be at a completely different level, and I could sort of feel it happening. So people, I think, have to now start thinking a bit more and working out, where things are going, and actually placing themselves in the place that's going to allow them some form of freedom within what's going on.
Okay, so in the new order and have to think differently. What is this thinking different? I mean, we work. That's the same thought as before. We work and we want to make a livelihood from the work we do, or do we say forget about the work that's been created, which is in a system? Let's go back to the land. Let's just till the soil. Is that what you're suggesting? I think we go back to basics.
Well, I think it's a bit more complicated than that. I think basically nobody knows really how much worse things are going to get with the pandemic. The pandemic also mutate into something a lot worse. It could become a combination of 2-3 other mutant variants as well.
So mutant ninja turds, you mean, like them?
So until the whole pandemic is brought under control, and we have some sense of normality. We don't really know where this thing is going. It could be a year, could be 2 years, could be 3 years. That
really, I think you're really scaring me today, Lakhi Singh. Not showing me any signs of hope. Why is that?
well, hope is sort of built upon some sort of foundation. There isn't. You can't. Nobody can read the future. So what we've got to do is we've got to work on a worst case scenario and then work backwards. And obviously, if things clear up by March and everybody's vaccinated and everything's la-di-da again, that's the perfect storm for anybody who's wanting things to want to live in hope. But I think it's better to live in hope, but just work on the worst case scenario. If things are bad for 2-3 years, what is it that they need to do now to cover themselves, because they may not have the ability to make certain decisions 3 months from now if things don't work out as they're thinking. So living in hope is actually, I would say, a recipe for disaster.
Okay, living in hope is a recipe for disaster. Right. Okay.
So you got to be pragmatic. I'd say living in pragmatism is a recipe for success.
Okay, so what do we need to do practically then? Being pragmatic, what should we do then? What do we accept? And what's the pragmatism behind what we're doing now? What is it we're doing now which is impractical?
So I think a lot of people are really caught up in the sense of frustration and isolation, and it's really affecting their mental health and well-being. I've noticed potentially 3 suicide attempts in the last 72 hours, which have come randomly from different places. Now, is that a coincidence, or is that something to do with the pandemic? I would say all 3 relate to the pandemic, because a lot of it sort of comes down to isolation, where people, normal circumstances, may feel a bit down or depressed, or they may have severe depression. But if you add on that lockdown, they can't see their family, can't really go out, they can't go to the shops, they can't go to a restaurant, they can't have retail therapy, go and buy their Gucci, Givenchy, and Da Vinci type whatever handbag. You know what they're going to do? They are actually not able to function in this what's going on, and they're having to. They can't. There's no coping mechanism for that. So that's my point.
Okay, so isn't it a bit ironical then, Lakhi, those people who strive to be successful, or in international terms, those countries or cultures or peoples that strive to become developed, if not developing, they've actually ended up better off because they don't have restaurants, handbags, and consumerism to give them a sense of feeling of purpose. They've got nothing but the 4 walls that they live in and the relationships they own. So in a funny way, isn't this bringing everyone back down to even keel? Everyone's at the same point now. Isn't that one way of looking at it? Everyone now, and anyone in the third world now, is just as good as anybody being in a developed part of the world. If anything, the one in the third world probably got more freedoms. Is that right?
Yeah, I think a sense of a loss of control, more of a loss of control in the UK, so, and America. So I think civil rights has taken a hammering in some ways, without anybody really sort of questioning it in the way, and a lot of it's been muted by the media. So yeah, we're in a position now as a society where we've got no control. And
Well, I was interesting on that point. I was thinking about the fact that they've shown you how someone who's so integrated into the system, so the likes of the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, he becomes a naughty boy. They say he's lost his rockers. He basically gets cut out of everything that you would regard as normality. So his Twitter account gets closed down, his LinkedIn, all the other Ings and Facebooks, whatever else he's got that he's using is totally muted. They've cut him off communication with the world. Isn't that like an indicator of how everybody will be subject to that control? Because at the moment, you have a telephone, you have a landline, you have a telephone. Some respects you can call people at your own free will. If everything's going to be running off internet and broadband, i.e. WhatsApp calls and VoIP messages, VoIP calls, we had the new excuse me, the new app that's just been launched, Clubhouse. If you have all these things and they don't like what you're saying, technically they can just shut you down. Isn't that really what's happened with the president? It's just been shut down. Isn't that showing us a little snippet of the way things will be in the future?
well, I think yeah, I mean, if they can do it for the leader of the biggest economies in the world, and then shutting something down like that, anyone down is going to be a bit of a no-brainer. So I think everybody's going to be quite careful on social media, because anybody who's actually linked to, I think it wasn't just Donald Trump that was shut down. Anybody that was sort of linked to him or supporting him, they were also
shut down.
So it wasn't just one person. I think there might have been thousands of accounts that were closed down.
Wow. So in a very in a weird way, it's like an indicator for us. A bit slightly similar to somebody who's a leader getting the virus and then taking the vaccine or going through the process. It's a validation of what they're doing. Isn't that a clever spin on things? Isn't that then why they would like to advertise someone who's a VIP or someone who's an important person in government getting the virus and then going through the process that they've set up? Isn't that a clever way of validating what they're doing? Because people think, well, if he's complying to it, it's got to be right. Isn't that a clever technique to put people or control the minds of people to think that's the only way? Because I still ask a lot of people, I'm just a bit shocked as to why all of a sudden the entire world economy was closed down, even though we know we've had equally similar viruses and flus and influenzas, and but they didn't close the whole world down. Why this time?
I don't know the answer to that question, and I just think it's, whichever way you look at it, closing down livelihoods doesn't really make sense from a practical point of view. So I think some of the measures are quite draconian, because people can't. If people are locked up at home, they can't go to work and pay their bills. If shops are closed down, they're not going to get staff to be able to operate, deliver services to people what they need. I can understand maybe the 2-month lockdown beginning, but then to have it continuously, then I think tough call. But I think a lot of international governments have either been very tight in the beginning and they've stopped it altogether, or they've let it go and then they've taken measures at the end, and then they've had to take drastic measures. So I think it all just comes down to, let's just say, strategy and implementation of a pandemic, and actually how you manage it. And one could argue that if they knew the extent of this pandemic, and I think there was lots of people out there even a couple of years ago saying that there's going to be a pandemic and be aware of it, especially in the church or pastoral community. They're prophesying that something's going to happen. So
right, in the pastoral community, right? Okay, so this is a bit like an Armageddon type of thing happening, is it? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, so I think the governments knew that something was afoot, and they've got like they would have contingencies for these type of things. So the decision making around this, I think, was very haphazard. Had they taken more drastic action in the beginning, I mean, for example, they didn't really close. So done everything the wrong way around, you could argue. So had they actually closed all the airports down coming in at the beginning of the pandemic, and isolated and all these sort of things, and tested anybody coming in and out of the country. So when you had one person having the virus at that time, had they take that decision, then one could argue that we may only had 5 or 10,000 deaths at most, but now we've hit the over 100,000 mark in the UK. So that's quite significant. But there are a couple of other major things afoot, which is that all deaths are actually now being registered as COVID-19.
Okay.
So, argument that's going around that technically there is no difference between last year, 2019 and 2020 in terms of the number of deaths, and that they've been exaggerated because everybody, even if somebody who's had a car accident and passed away, has actually been written down as COVID-19 death. So somebody had mild COVID-19, but they died in a car accident, but that's been written down as a COVID-19 death.
Are you saying COVID-19's taken over vehicles a bit like remote control? Anybody out there who knows of somebody whose car's been taken over by the virus?
What I'm saying is that there's the stats that there's only 398 people. This is a stat that somebody quoted. Only 398 people that have died of COVID-19 were people that didn't have any underlying health issues. All the rest had underlying health issues. So somebody already had a severe health issue and they passed away, then they may have passed anyway from a natural flu of sorts. This is a stronger.
Right, okay. That's interesting. Right, before we continue, when I go into more detail with Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, shout out Ali Firi, I think is the name. Ali. We have Mina. We have John, Carolyn, Mandy, and anybody else? And we've got an unseen viewer. Oh, okay. Got lots of people out there who are watching us. So yeah, Lakhi Singh. So Neil Soho as well. Yes, we've got him. That's right, Neil Soho. Thank you so much for watching us. Okay, Lakhi Singh. Question. Right. It's uncertain. We don't know which way things are going to go. Surely doesn't leadership change the way we will manage this? And being the largest economy in the world, America, if it changes the way it's behaving towards the virus in terms of actually being serious about it, do you think that will make a difference? Do you think that's going to, because you're saying yourself, certain countries took it very serious at the beginning. It's only a handful of them, but they've been able to manage the virus. I mean, like I think New Zealand, we know, has been very good with this management. With Japan, countries like that have got everything figured out and been very tight with the way they manage the virus. And I think, yes, I agree with the point you're making. An immediate aggressive action may have closed down and locked down everyone, and would have maybe curbed the number of deaths. But remember, the world economy is a bit like a Titanic. It can't just be switched off like a switch. So many things that are happening at any one time that it's next it's next to impossible because of the free movement of people. And remember, the virus spreads, or at least as we've been told, the virus is spread due to the free movement of people. So people moving from one area to another, or flying in from one part of the country to another, and from one country to another country. Can you just switch off the economy like that and expect switch off communication, transport, connectivity, just like that, like a drop of a switch? Can that work? Is that possible?
I think it comes down to leadership. I mean, had Winston Churchill been the leader, or let's say Boris Johnson being the leader of wartime against Hitler, then what would happen is you would have probably ended up losing World War II, because he would have probably not taken any action until it was too late. So that's the point I'm making.
Okay, so leadership does make a difference. So if that's
leadership is the most defining thing in terms of this, because if somebody at the top realizes that something's going on, but they haven't got the capability to comprehend the nature of this type of thing, and they're not addressing it in a strategic way, they're going to be making lots of haphazard decisions. And so I think if they haven't got that capability to actually fathom this, and they haven't got the right advisors, then their decisions are going to be only as good as their advisors and their capability. Yeah.
Can I ask a question then, Lakhi? Do you actually know of a point in this whole scenario, actual trigger point, where an individual within the government, an individual said, right, we're going to shut down the entire world? I can't recall hearing that from anyone. I can't actually recall how this policy became reality. I mean, I can't remember Donald Trump said we're going to lock down the entire. Where did the policy all of a sudden become a reality? Where did this all of a sudden become like, that's what we've got to do, that's the standard? Because I can't recall that Boris Johnson or Donald Trump or any of the leaders in the world actually being out on the press conference and saying, right, we're going to shut down the world. We're going to shut down ourselves to the world. I didn't see that anywhere. where did this thing take place that we were gonna literally shut down everything?
Well, shutting down the world has only come about because the governments haven't taken the right measures in the beginning. So it's not a question of shutting down. That's incorrect. It's more of a question of taking comprehensive to call it decision making in the beginning in a way that meant that they would actually test anybody coming in, going out, and quarantining. But that was started far too late, and it wasn't done consistently. So one could argue, if you did have a global one economy and all the countries work together, then that unity would probably allow them to be more comprehensive in some sort of standard decision making of people coming in and out of their borders. So that would be the idealistic type position. But obviously, trying to get every single country to cooperate to work out a standard method to stop the spread of something like this has only come to a head now because you've got a mutant version of it. And because the mutant version's there, a lot of economies which have heard that South Africa and England have got a mutant version now want to raise the bar to having very rigorous checks on everything that's going in and out, or stopping any travel altogether, because they realize what's happened in the beginning, but they don't want to take any risks now that they've understood the dynamics of this type of thing.
Okay, so it's rather like a mutant ninja turd, somewhere between a superhero and a problem. Depending on who you are, it's a problem, and if you are a villain, you're obviously the turds are a problem, and if you are a good guy, they're on your team helping you fix the problem, just like Lakhi Singh, the property fixer. Interesting thought there, Lakhi Singh. I understand. Well, Joe Biden's promise in the first 100 days, he's going to deliver 100 million vaccines. You think that's possible?
Your guess is good as mine. I think if he's saying something and then he thinks he'll deliver it, I think only time will tell.
Okay, and apparently all of these vaccines, all the vaccines that have been developed around the world, they're still in test mode. I think most of these people who are taking the vaccine are probably taking it with an assumption to say they are not quite sure what will happen. Will it well protect us or not? There is something interesting. Where testing has been done, they are being asked to give responses as to how they behave, if their mood swing changes, etc. Is there any fact in that, Lakhi? That the virus may have slight sort of like effect on your mood or your psyche?
Well, let me start a couple of things. When we're dealing with a multi-billion-pound industry, which is pharma, and anybody that comes up against big pharma is not going to be easy to be able to. They're not really going to win. They haven't got a choice. So I would say that any stats, any information that comes out, anything what's really going on with the vaccines, the accuracy of that information and the deployment of it really should be done by an independent body that's actually not part of big pharma. And that's the only way you're going to get a true reflection of what's really happening with these vaccines. And unfortunately, there's a huge sort of pharma agenda here. And I think people's lives are at risk, but nobody's really informed about the vaccine. So you're almost getting something that's not even tested on animals, and we're really testing on us humans are being being the guinea pigs. So I think we're just going to be very careful in terms of getting accurate factual stats, which are actually held by an independent body that's got the ability to report on these type of things without any sort of media or government slant, which have got an agenda to show that they're the ones that have actually solved the problem. And I think that's the issue. So government can produce as many stats as they want, but would I definitely think that they're giving me stats which are 100% true, or is it that they're trying to push the vaccine agenda?
Okay. So, Lakhi Singh, let's suppose we're being treated like the first line of testing, and we don't really know what's going to happen. We are somewhat being treated like guinea pigs, even though normality, when you have a new serum of any kind, you're right, they normally have it tried and tested on animals and other entities so that it doesn't it should have minimum effect on us. The police, okay, I want to get my head around what you're saying. So, yeah, okay, the saying for the week was, in adversity lies opportunity. So who's the one who's got the opportunity in this adversity? Who do you think is actually taking advantage of the adversity and creating it into an opportunity?
There are a lot of large hedge funds now, or you could call them vulture funds, waiting for a crash to happen. A lot of estate agents, especially, saying that the market is going to tighten in March, April time. So those hedge funds are now going in and they're deploying money, but they're not deploying. They're deploying the money to more. So let's just say the money's going not to the startup developer, not to the mid-tier developer, but anybody that's a developer with a lot of history, background, knowledge, and a lot of collateral. So if you want to attract money now, then the more credentials you have, the more money you've got, the more capability you've got, the more likely they're going to be giving you the money, because they'll know their money's more likely to be safe and they're going to get a very good return on you going in. And
are you saying this is a bit like a top-downward structure in terms of the economy is going to go in a way, so it's going to be the big boys, the big corporations that control even the business that SMEs and individuals were getting scrapped for? It's just going to be restructured and going to the big players in the market. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think any money or from private institutions is going to go towards business models that are, let's just say, are foolproof. So anybody that's working on a small property or a small development, the lending criteria is going to be very tight, because if things do tighten, the smaller players, they're not really going to have the liquidity or the asset backing to be able to bail themselves out. So that's the point I'm making.
Okay, so who's got? So what you're saying is, it's the big boys that are going to take the opportunity out of this adversity. The small and the medium people are going to get left behind. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. They don't necessarily get left behind, but they may be in a sort of stalemate position, so they're not going to be able to do well unless they probably liquidate now, get their money out, and start working. Yeah,
that makes sense. Liquidation, right? Okay, so we are, without doubt, in a state of flux. Got a new president. We're not quite sure what our own government is going to be doing, because obviously we're relying upon the government of the United Kingdom to take a decision and say, right, this is what we're going to do. And it's correct to say that America sneezes and the rest of the world catches a cold. We understand that there is an interconnectivity. However many, trade deals you break or you don't have, somehow you are interconnected. What in this environment is the best thing to do? Is it to focus on the future? So the future is technology, so going on to the internet, using social media, relying upon networking remotely. Is that why the rescue associate model or rescue my properties was designed? And how earlier on in the chain were you aware that this was going to happen? Because it's quite unique how you've got a website and a service line that covers unemployment, that covers working remotely, that covers social media, covers networking, and actually says make money while you're helping people. When did you know that this would be happening? Are you part of some chicken blood organization? Or you've got access to this knowledge? Where are you getting this knowledge from, Lakhi Singh? Why is it you knew this was going to happen?
How did we know that was going to happen? Well, didn't know for sure, but I think we had a very good inkling, because we're quite internationally connected in terms of understanding what's happening with globally at an macroeconomic type level, and at the same time at the political level got quite a good understanding of what's happening there. So I think about 10 years ago, I think I went along to a couple of property events, and I could actually see what's with our knowledge and our experience with our team, we could tell really what's going to happen in the property market. And I was just warning people almost a bit too early, I think, telling them that getting into property, you just got to be a bit careful, because you've got easy money now, but the money's going to dry up. And as far back as about 2 or 3 years ago, we worked with many a mortgage broker or unregulated commercial lenders that have been working with us as brokers in our teams. And I think we were telling them at the time that all the debt funding that you're getting now is going to dry up. And so basically, a lot of these people, including relationship managers for senior banks such as NatWest, we're telling them that you're going to probably be out of a job. So I think we're probably way ahead of our time in terms of telling people what's going on and being quite cautious about getting involved in investing into property head on. So even as up to January 2019, I had quite a well-known celebrities investment manager come to see me and meet myself and one of the senior directors. And we told them that we could have Black Monday on Monday. This is on the 15th of I think February that they met us. And then the pandemic happened in the early March, or the remnants of it came up. So I think we've always been giving the message of people to be extra cautious and be more diligent in what they're doing. We just make sure they cover their bases. And but the thing is, if you're sending out a negative message, people don't really want to know. They want to be wooed. They want to be sold to. They want to be like, hey, everything's going well. We're going to be flying. We're going to be making millions. They want to hear all the rah-rah. So I think because we've been very pragmatic and grounded in how we talk to people, we realize what's going on. All the tools that we've developed from about, let's say, about 15 years ago are in relation to a difficult market. So Rescue My Properties is about helping people with negative equity portfolios and getting their debt written off. Immediate bank claims is about stopping repossession in 24 hours. And, you can only see what's around the corner for a lot of householders. Then management consultants for you, for the brands that helps people in dealing with the tax and dealing with finding bridging and first charge, second charge loans or commercial lending for their assets. Now, all of that tied together, complete solution, because we're getting a lot of buy-to-let landlords been coming to us saying, I'm about to lose my properties because I've gone into arrears. But what we've done is our repossession department has gone in and helped them to stop the repossession. Finance department's gone in, helped them to raise the finance. And if the finance difficult to do because they're highly geared, then we've had our sales department, which is quite a large part of what we do, which is real estate. We've gone in and helped them to find a friendly buyer that will help them to sell the property rather than the bank selling it on their behalf, which is probably going to end up putting them into big problems or big shit. So we've literally thought out the formula. So I think we will actually be the biggest, the fastest moving organization, but it's a helping organization. So we are, I would call ourselves the Neuro-Linguistics of the property world, because I think I aspire to the body shop type branding and what she did, which is to come up with a completely new concept in terms of using vegan products sold to mass market. So ours is you could call our what we are doing is halal or kosher or clean. It's clean property tech, because everything is geared around helping people. It's concentric around help and helping people with their health, their well-being, their property problems, their business issues. So yeah, it's a very, very exciting time, because I know that we're going to be able to help a lot of people. So it feels, for me anyway, I can't really see the pandemic in the same way that anybody else is, because I see what we do as an essential service, because imagine how many people we can help.
I think some people may say to you, Lakhi Singh, that isn't this just a natural cycle, recession? And, you're just sort of like riding off one recession and then another recession and everything will be back to normal. Is that correct? Or is it actually quite unique what you've set up? And you've still not been able to explain to us, where did you get this knowledge from? Where did this happen? Where did you work out this was going to happen? Are you reading something? Are you talking to people? How is it happening?
Well, I'm the head of sales and marketing. We have got quite a strong management team. So the other director, he's got the capability of, is very strategic in his understanding. So together we've realized what's going to happen in the market, and all we've done is put in processes to actually help those that may not be able to realize the corner.
Excellent. Okay, so where in the cycle do you think you are now then, if you recognize all of this? How many months, weeks, years more are we going to have to go through the suffering of this pandemic and the commercial markets crash and close down, and all? How long more? What do you predict?
I think competition is usually quite good. I'd say September, October is probably the earliest time that things would actually come back to some sort of normality.
Will people still be normal though, Lakhi Singh? I mean, another 10 months. How do you think people are going to be? Are they going to be? Is anybody going to be normal again, or what normality is regarded as, or are we going to get like a full nation of sort of like people with post PTSD type of like having a whole nation of people who've just come back from war? What's going to happen?
Well, you're going to have a lot more excessive behavior. I think I think a lot of people being stuck at home are turning to things which give them temporary relief, but they're not really long-term solutions. So I'm gonna put them in the negative and the positive. So the negative is got a problem, have a drink, have a smoke, have drugs. Positive is you're at home, start meditating, start appreciating, having gratitude, realize that you've got no control over things around you, which we've been discussing, and turn to good health, turn to good food, turn to.
Are people actually listening to that though, Lucky? Do you think people are listening to you when you tell them, you need to just relax and focus internally and don't try to change or control things you've got no control of? Do you think people are actually listening to you for that?
I think people listening. I think we've got to spread the message, and the thing is, it's going to be very difficult for people to break out of their psychological profile if they've got addictive nature, and haven't got the resolve actually being able to deal with themselves emotionally. They're emotionally weak. They're going to have to really work on themselves to actually bring themselves to the next level.
Okay, last minute, Lakhi Singh. Your analogy, sir. You need to get better food. We spoke about this at the beginning of the year. Mind, body, soul. You need to get it all in sync. You need to really get, and without that, you're not going to be able to at least come out positive in this adverse environment. So, last words, please, Lakhi, before we close off today. It's been a bit of a serious topic today, somber, bit a bit worrying in some respects, but give us your last words, a positive words for everyone to listen to.
Okay, I think this is a bit like Arnie fighting off the Terminator, is the analogy.
Yes. Come on! When he was in the little ditch, when he sees the predator. Is that the one?
No, I just thought that was you, just being yourself.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right. So basically, we are up against the machines. The machine is COVID-19. If you wanna beat the machines, what you've got to do is only 5 simple things you got to do. You got to look after your food intake, your health in terms of exercise, your as I say, your mental well-being, prayers, spirituality. And, anything else is a bonus. So I think just focus in on your health, and if you do that, if you've got clarity of mind, then whatever problems you've got, any obstacles you've got, they'll sort themselves out. And I would say you're going to have a lot of people that are feeling lonely and isolated in your family or friends. So if you've got time and you're at home, and I would say just call people, talk to them, and create your community bubble. Because the problem is that if somebody is turning to alcohol, there's a lot you can do to help people as well. Because I think those sort of issues are going to become rife. People are going to be turning to anything that's going to give them immediate solution, whether it's pharma, pharmaceutical pills from, to relieve pain, or whether it's alcohol, whether it's anything else. So I think a lot of it just stems down to loneliness and
Okay.
connection.
With that, I'm going to complete. I'm going to ask you, Lakhi, thank you so much for your time again, as every morning we have 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. So I think the key word is create your community bubble. It's very important. Help people and be helped by other people. Share your knowledge. Help each other. And I think that's the key word. Help each other. Create your bubble within a community so that you can be talking and chatting and sharing ideas and feelings. With that, sir, thank you so much. As usual, Lakhi Singh, the business and property fixer with the alternative business and properties solution community. Thank you so much for your time again. See you tomorrow again. And I think tomorrow morning, Friday, the timings are 8:30, I think, to 9:15. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, 8:45, sorry, to 9:30. That's the right one. So it's 8:45 to 9:30 on Friday, and we should have the very famous Ninder Singh Johal on. Thank you so much, sir. Take care.